Whether you're on a healing journey, a spiritual or personal development one, there inevitably comes a time when you're called to focus on issues related to your family of origin. That's why today I wanted to share with you a modality that can possibly assist you with that. Hi, I'm Stacyann Forrester, astrologer and mentor, and I'm here today with life coach and family constellations facilitator, Liza Miron. Welcome, Lisa.
Hi, Stacyann. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited to be here.
Great to have you. So are you ready to kind of jump into the questions?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go. So first of all, let's describe for our audience what Family Constellations is. And if you could share a little bit about the origin story, because it's a really unique one.
Yeah. So Family Constellations is a tool. And a tool for healing. There are so many tools out there, but this one's very specific for the issues that we're healing with this tool. And the issues are the things that we have that we unconsciously carry from our ancestors or from the family system that block us in our way, in our life in one way or another. So we could be carrying the trauma from our ancestors, the emotions, the patterns. We can have connections with the excluded members of the family system. Mm-hmm. And all this is completely unconscious. We have no idea that we're doing this, but it manifests in our lives as, for example, problems with abundance, problems in relationships, problems dealing with emotions. It's like suddenly we have a very difficult to control anger, and we don't know why. We don't know why simple things are making us so angry. And we understand it mentally, but there's like something inside of it that suddenly is like comes out. Or we are depressed and our life is great. We have a job, we have a family that loves us. It's like everything is perfect, but we're completely depressed and we don't know why. So, for example, these situations usually come from anger that we're carrying from our ancestors, grief that we're carrying for, let's say, my grandmother, that maybe she lost a child and was not able to deal with such a big pain. So then I carry that energy, that grief, that what she was not able to process in me, and then I'm depressed and it doesn't make sense. I don't know why. But those are the things that we connect to our ancestors that affect our lives. And this is what we're healing here in the Family Constellations. We are looking at those patterns, at those aspects, those emotions, those situations in life where we're stuck. And the reason why we're stuck is because we're unconsciously carrying something for the family system. So once we're able to see this, we see it with love, with acceptance, understanding that everybody has done this the best that they can, understanding that our ancestors are important because we connect to the energy, the love. It's our roots, what gave us life. So once we're able to respect and honor them, then we're able to heal, we're able to transform, we're able to let go what is not our responsibility to carry. So then we start to flow easier in life. We're able to connect better to life.
Yeah. And Lisa, I also think that in addition to not knowing where a certain emotion, feeling is coming from, a certain sense of feeling stuck, we may not know the family story or the family history. There's a lot of families where you just don't talk about certain things. You don't talk about the pain. You don't talk about the trauma. And so I think that's the other piece of Family Constellations that's really helpful to be able to somehow reconnect to some of those stories. Can you say a little bit about that?
Yeah. So first, this work, we can do it without knowing anything of the family system. We can be adopted and we are still able to do this work. Because if we have something that is affecting us in our life, it's there. It's like in the unconscious. So we don't need to know it consciously in order to be able to heal it. So we're able to tap into that and heal it without even knowing anybody in the family system, just by knowing that it's there. But when we're able to do this and we're able to connect to what has happened in the past, we're able to shift the story. For example, there's so many stories of pain, of difficulties, of situations that were so hard that our ancestors just wanted to forget. And if we think about how many families we know, or maybe our own family, that, we ask our grandmother, our mother, what about your great grandmother? We don't talk about her, or we don't,
or why do you want to know about that? Yeah,
yeah.
like there's a little bit of
why are you asking? There's like that's it, or that's it. There's no opening for discussion. And often it's not, often it's because they did something that the family did not agree. Maybe they hurt others. Maybe they, did something unethical and they just want to hide it because they feel shame. But often it's because it was so painful that the ones that are alive still connect to that pain. So by you asking those questions brings up the pain that they're not willing to even see. So they're still hiding it. But when we do this work, what we do is that first we acknowledge that it was hard. And we realize that everybody did the best that they could in each situation. And we say thank you for whatever you did, because thanks to what you did, now we have this connection with life. We have our life. And we're able to have whatever we have today. So when we connect to them with gratefulness, with acceptance, without judging them, without criticizing them, we connect with love. And this is what transforms. This is what heals. This acceptance of everybody and everything the way it was. It connects us to the wisdom and the energy of the system and brings the healing for us and for the whole family system.
Yeah, it's so powerful. Such a powerful tool, modality. And in terms of the origin story, can you share with us a little bit about that? Because I found it really interesting for me.
Yeah, so the person that founded the Family Constellations, his name is Bert Hellinger. He was a priest. He was German, and he went to South Africa for 16 years as a missionary. And he worked mainly with the Zulu. And so he said that he learned more from them than what he was able to teach them. And what he learned specifically were these connections with the ancestors, with the family, with, we live in a life that we live so independently from everybody else and from our ancestors. It's like there's a gap nowadays. So when he went there, he noticed this connection, this honoring, this remembering, and how this was able to bring healing to situations that they were experiencing in that moment. So eventually he left Africa, and he decided that he didn't want to be a priest anymore, and he became a family therapist. And he started working with families and with their issues, and with the knowledge that he had, when there were things going on in the family that, he did everything he could to bring some healing, and everything just was stuck. So with that knowledge that he had from being in Africa, he started asking, what about your parents? What about your grandparents? What about your great grandparents? And he noticed when he started tapping and family started tapping into that shifts happen, that things started to change, to evolve, to move, and the lives of of his clients were starting to change as well, just by tapping, asking, making those questions, just remembering. So then he started exploring this more and working with many clients, many possibilities. He also started working with different modalities on how to tap into this information. And this is how he developed the family constellations that we know today.
It's so fascinating that this modality has its origins in Africa and South Africa. So it was just really important for me as someone of African descent to know about that and how cool that is. So thank you for sharing that with us. And, people are watching this, people are listening to this, and they're getting super excited about this as something that could be for them. So how does one know whether or not this is something that could possibly work for whatever they're dealing with at the moment?
So the way we know that this could be beneficial is to look at our lives and see where we're stuck. So if we have tried to do something to make things different or better in our lives with any aspect, but we feel that we're in patterns, like, for example, maybe we want to have a healthy relationship with a partner. And, we try over and over again, and it always happens the same way, that they leave us, or that we decide that they're not good enough, or after a certain period of time, things just start falling apart. And no matter how many books we read, no matter how many therapies, it always happens again. or that we're trying to have a job that we want, and we always find situations where we're not being recognized, or we just have problems with money. That money always disappears. We get a lot of money and then it disappears very fast. Things happen that they disappear, or we're stuck like with emotions that we feel that that they're overwhelming, like they're not connected to what we are experiencing in the moment. So any areas of life, and it could be health, love, work, relationship, money, any areas where we feel stuck, where we have done things to make things different and we're still there. It always comes to the same thing. We feel like we're getting, we go over the same wall over and over again, or repeating the same pattern, no matter what we have tried in the past. So for those reasons, those situations, that's like a sign that this work can help, because the reason why there's this stuckness is usually an entanglement. This is how we call it, a connection, something that we're carrying for somebody else in the family system.
Very interesting. So it really works its magic on those hard cases of things that you just tried everything else. Perhaps maybe trying family constellations could be your next step. Yeah. Love that. So we've been talking about this in more of like this broader context, but what does that actually, what does family constellations look like in practice? What does a session with you look like? Let's give the audience a little bit more information of like what this modality actually looks like in practice.
Yeah. So there are two different ways that I do the family constellations. There are thousands of different ways, and each family constellation facilitator is going to do it differently. But the way that I do it is in group sessions and in private sessions. And they can be online or they can be in person. After COVID, we realized the possibility of online and how everything still works. So now it's one of the gifts of COVID, that this has expanded. So many technologies, so many healings, modalities have expanded online. So when I do it in a group session, I'm going to explain how it happens when we are in person. So we're with a group of people, and there's the person that's going to do their own constellation. Let's say that this person is, I'm going to call this person the client. And then there's people that don't know anything about the client's life, don't know the client at all in the group. And when we start doing the constellation, so let's say that this client is doing a constellation about being able to have a healthy relationship with a partner. So then the client is going to choose from the people that are there, one person to represent, let's say her, let's say that a client is a her, and another one to represent the possibility of having a healthy partner. So these people that don't know the client at all are going to stand up and are going to be connecting with their intuition to the field of information. So we're not necessarily here like channeling the spirits of the ancestors. We're connecting to the information, to the morphogenetic field. And we know from quantum physics that information is everywhere. They've done these experiments of, where they split molecules and they separate them, and it's actually called entanglement. It's funny because it's a similar word that we use in the family constellations, but they split the molecules, and when they're noticing what's going on with one molecule, the other one that's kilometers away is reacting accordingly to the other molecule. So they realize that the information is still there, that they're somehow connected. And what they're explaining is that, so if they split the molecules and the molecules are still energetically connecting, this is science.
Yeah.
They're saying that we all come from the Big Bang. That was one molecule that exploded. So that means that we're all connected. We're all energetically connected to everyone and everything. So what we're doing here is that we're connecting to that information that's available always. And we know that this is possible because we do it all the time. We're just not noticing. We're not putting attention. So when we go into a room and we suddenly notice that, what's going on here? They're fighting. Someone's fighting. Someone's mad. And nobody has said anything. No one has said one word, but you notice there's tension. There's there's this expression that you can cut the air with a knife.
Yeah.
It's the sensation that, oh my goodness, what's going on here? I'm going to go to the kitchen. Bye. I don't want to be here. And, we sense this, we connect to the information. So this is what we're using when we're doing the family constellations. We, with our body, with our intuition, are connecting to the field of information. So the representatives that don't know anything about the client are just connecting to what their body wants to do. And what and how they move gives us information. So for example, if the representative of the client is looking at the partner, if they're looking at, where's the camera? If they're looking at each other, gives us information. If they're looking like opposite directions, gives us information. If they're angry, if they're connecting, if they're running away from each other, if whatever's going on with them, gives us information, and gives us information of what's also going on in the family system. So we bring more people according to what's going on. Maybe we're going to bring the client's mother, maybe the father, maybe the grandmother. We see who is needed according to the movements of the representatives. And I ask the client to say some words. For example, let's say that the grandmother lost her husband at war. So then I tell the client, look at your grandmother, look at her grief, and tell your grandmother that you acknowledge how hard that was for her. And we notice how these phrases just start like affecting the representatives. Like they start moving differently. There's like a release. There's like some peace that suddenly starts happening. And this is how we know that the healing is taking place, that the client is working on those issues, those entanglements in the family system, releasing them and bringing healing to whatever the client wants to bring healing to. And the healing is always like finding this sensation of peace, of release, of something that's shifting and changing. And this is how we do the family constellation when we're in a group session. So when we are in a one-to-one session, what I do is that I represent all the different positions. I put pieces of paper on the floor. So I go from one position to the other. So it's like a group session, but more like in slow motion, because I'm doing all the different representations. And this is how we do it when we're doing a one-to-one session. And when we're doing it online, we do it the same. So for example, you're there and I'm here, and then I would stand up and I would go to the back, and then I would put the pieces on the floor and show you and explain to you what's going on. And I would ask you to say the phrases. And this is how we would do it in person. When we're doing in a group session online, then everybody is with their cameras. And again, they stand up. And we notice the movements, and this is what's giving us information, and this is how we do the constellation.
And it sounds like it's immediate, the effect within that session, that healing, that feeling of relief and peace.
So yes and no, because it's really different for every single person. And this is something very deep that, although often we're able to feel like a big relief, a sensation of change in the session, some people are able to notice changes in their life immediately. But what I've noticed with my clients is that it takes around a month for things to integrate and for them to be able to start noticing some changes in their lives. Sometimes it can take up to 2 months. Sometimes it can take up to 6 months, because this is something like a movement that starts shifting, that we change and then others change according to what we're now changing and how we're behaving and how we're like connecting to others. So, and sometimes the change is not exactly what we want. And this is something that we do in the family constellations, that we're connecting for the best possible healing of us and the family system. So, for example, I had a client that he came to me because he wanted to have a better job. He didn't like his job, and he was looking for a promotion. So he did the constellation, and just, I don't remember the timing, but like a week after, he got fired. So he was like, "My goodness, what's going on?" But it only passed like 1 month, and in 1 month, he was able to find a much better job with a better condition, with a better salary, just like what he was wanting to do.
Yeah.
So we're looking for this healing for what we want in our life, but we don't have a very specific frame of what we want this healing to look like, because we really don't know what's best. And we cannot control, we cannot go and manipulate this, how others are behaving. especially when we're working with relationships with others. If I want to get along with my mother, but we actually don't, and she has her own way of looking at life because of her experiences, her traumas, her pain, I cannot change her. I can only change myself and how I react to her being the way she is. So this is something important that we need to understand. We cannot change others, but when we work in our way of how we have them in our heart, it changes the relationship and how we experience their way of experiencing life. And then this brings like some easiness, some flow, and some opening for us to have a better relationship. Yeah. So we're not fixed on how we want the healing to be in our lives. Yes, we want to have more connection with love, with abundance, with health, with success, with joy. But we're not going to put an intention that what we want is this situation with this person, with this, because we don't know what that's really what's best for us in this moment.
Yeah, so there's a bit of letting go of control, actually a lot of letting go of control, because you get the healing, you feel the relief, and the time that it takes to shift externally, because there is always that lag in anyone who's in some kind of like spiritual or healing field understands this. There's a lag between the internal shifts and the external shifts. It does take a little bit.
Yeah. And like you said, just the letting go of the control, it's a healing in itself. And one of the most powerful and one of the hardest to actually do.
Yes, absolutely. So Liza, thank you so much for joining me. This has been a wonderful conversation. And how can people connect with you if they want to learn more about you and your work? Just share with us.
Yeah, so thank you. My website is coachingandconstellations.com. And all the information is there. You can find the links to do an appointment with me. You have a page with all my events and also links on how to register to my events. I have a lot of videos and also the link to my YouTube channel and to my podcast where you can find a lot of information about all this work. I usually do small videos, like 5 minutes, and the podcasts are basically the audio of the videos because I know, we have busy lives and we don't have time often for 1 hour explanations of what things are. So I do like short videos for everybody to see whenever they can, even if they have only 5 minutes. So there's a lot of information there. And so you can access everything, my Facebook page, my Instagram, everything through my website, which is coachingandconstellations.com.
Okay, great. And I will link to all that information down below in the description. Again, thank you for joining me, and have a great rest of your day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me.
Bye-bye.